Welcome back, everybody, to Sporting with Smitty. I'm your host, Smitty. It is a new season, a new era for the New England Patriots. For the first time since January 3rd, 2000, whether it's preseason or regular season game, the Patriots played a football game without Bill Belichick on the sidelines. To put it into perspective, the last time that happened, I was 3. So that tells you about how dominating that run was for the New England Patriots. And even though it ended in a very disappointing and really kind of embarrassing note, we were just lucky to see that it happened. So, let's get into it. To the first game without Bill Belichick, the coaching debut of Gerard Mayo, and in my opinion, it went fantastic. I know everybody's going to say it's a preseason game. You really didn't see much from the offense. That is true. It was everybody was getting used to each other because you had a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive system, new quarterback, a lot of new players getting used to a new system and the way things are now, and that's no longer under the Belichick system and the way that they used to do business. It's a new era now. And I have to say, from what I saw, I knew I wasn't going to see too much of Jacoby Brissett. We didn't. We saw him for one series. He missed on a couple of throws, including a deep pass downfield. Many people reacted in the stadium. That could have been a pass interference. It was a bang-bang play. It's preseason. You don't expect them to call that kind of play, especially when a lot of guys, when their jobs are on the line at this point already. So he went 0 for 3, 3 and out. Well, not really 3 and out. There was a good run by Ramondre Stevenson to start the game. And outside of that, really didn't see much of Jacoby or the rest of the starters. A lot of guys sat out, including David Andrews. Then Drake May came in, which is what everybody's been really wanting to see, and he also played one series. He got a couple of good throws into the running back there. I like the play design, not trying to force him to throw it downfield. He's slowly building his confidence. So, obviously, I said it last year, I was hoping for Jaden Daniels, someone of that nature, but got to stick with Drake May. Got to support him. So, here is where things got interesting. Bailey Zappi came in. Unfortunately, there were boos, but they weren't booing Zappi. They were booing the fact that, hey, we just spent a very important pick on a quarterback. We want to see him. We want to see a little bit more of him. I can understand that. I was a little surprised myself, and then going through the replay and watching the game over again, it came to mind saying, okay, the first and second spots on the roster and the depth chart for quarterback are pretty much already set. Gerard Mayo said himself that he is sticking with Jacoby. Jacoby is most likely going to be the starter to begin the season. Drake May will back him up. But the third spot on the QB depth chart, that's the one that I'm really interested in because we're not really sure. That's the one thing that we kind of has dragged over to the new era, is that you don't know what's going to happen roster-wise. There hasn't been really many news about it when it comes to whether they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks or whether they're going to keep 4 quarterbacks or whether they're going to go 3 and have a quarterback sign on the practice squad. You don't know. So for the majority of this game, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's basically just a tryout to see who's going to get that third spot between Bailey Zappi and Joe Milton. Bailey Zappi did what he does best. He kind of excited the crowd a bit. He made a couple of plays. He made a nice flip pass to the running back on a short yardage situation where he could have run for a first down, but he flipped it over to the running back in a safe play. I thought that was a nice play. He also missed a couple of throws. There was a really bad one downfield late in the first half that I really didn't like. It was a really ugly throw. But, Bailey Zappi does what he does best. He is the second most experienced quarterback-wise in the NFL on the depth chart, so I was expecting to see a lot of him. Now, going to the most exciting part of the game, in my opinion, and that's Joe Milton. He was unbelievable. He was moving around the pocket. He looked comfortable in the pocket. He really did. I mean, he was running around. He was making sure he wasn't running into sacks like we've seen in the past with, God help us, Mac Jones or Cam Newton when Cam was here, because Cam did that, unfortunately, a lot. But that was also because the offensive line was kind of bad, but also with Mac, but that's a whole other thing together. But he looked so confident in the pocket. He made a couple of nice throws, easy throws. That's what I like really to get these quarterbacks going is some quick, easy throws to the flat, to the running back, maybe a screen pass, get them going, get their confidence up, and that's what Van Pelt really was harping on. It seemed like for these young quarterbacks to get them going early. Now, the question is, does Bailey Zappi go, or does Milton go to the practice squad? Do we release him? I hope not, because he is a keeper. He showed potential in this game to escape pressure, to make plays when all hell breaks loose on the line of scrimmage, make a play, and that's what he did, including reversing field and then running for a first down. Impressive. It was impressive all the way through. He also made a nice throw downfield to I think his name is Jaquay Jackson. Sorry, the names are getting mixed up in my head. But Jaquay Jackson made a nice catch on a nice route down the field for a touchdown. That really put the game out of reach. You knew the game was out of reach anyway at 10-0 because of how great the defense was playing. But for the running backs, obviously Mondre, he wasn't going to get time on the field, and I am happy about that because Van Pelt, when he took the job, his first comments was he's really going to try to build a kind of a run-first attack offensively. I mean, you have to. With a running back like Stevenson, you have to. So only saw one run from Stevenson for 11 yards. That was the first down on the first drive. And then, unfortunately, the Patriots couldn't do anything with that. Terrell Jennings and Kevin Harris, I think, are very, very big prospects that could be put onto the roster, and they could do something in these games. Terrell Jennings was running hard. I really enjoyed watching him run the football. His longest run was 20 on the day, so he was able to get free into some space and make some plays. Kevin Harris scored the only touchdown, the only rushing touchdown of the day. So he was able to also get something going. I mean, he's more of like a bruiser type of runner, so he was in the short yardage situations. It seems like that's his forte there. Going on to the receiving end, there's a lot of players here who I'm really excited about. Kayshon Boutte, after last year, it seemed like he was just in the doghouse all year last year. He just couldn't get into his own, and he was really struggling. And I'm not surprised. There's a lot of just drama on the field, off the field, with Coach Belichick. A lot of that was going on. So it's hard for a rookie to really kind of make his mark on the team, especially with an offensive coordinator like Bill O'Brien, who's really very rarely giving rookies a shot. Because from memory, at least as a Patriots offensive coordinator, rookies were not really getting a lot of opportunities under Bill O'Brien. They weren't. He stuck with a lot of the veteran guys. So that's just how he's always coached for some reason. At least in New England. Houston is a different story, obviously. I'm not too well versed on his history and how he did it with Houston. He probably was the opposite. So, but Kayshon Boutte, an unbelievable improvement. He was making some nice grabs down the field, making plays, getting open. He was being very aggressive, fighting for the ball. Outstanding today. Jaquay Jackson, obviously the one catch he had was the touchdown on the nice throw from Milton. So obviously I think he was definitely an A+ type of play right there. Jermichael Hasty, he made some good plays. The stat sheet doesn't show it, but you could tell he was getting the ball, he was getting some handles, and he was doing something with it, which is, a lot more than I could say from a lot of other people. Antonio Gibson, who's a new free agent that was signed in the offseason, came from the Commanders last year. He had a nice catch for a first down with Drake May on that second drive. Obviously nothing came of it. You really didn't see him do anything else. He had a couple runs, but really didn't do anything with them. Couple of plays on the line of scrimmage that kind of got broken up. Jalen Reagor, not much from him. Jalen Polk had some nice catches. He had 3 catches, 14 yards. Not exploding in your face, amazing wow on the stat sheet, but hey, he was able to get some grabs. That's what you need from a rookie receiver, especially when he is trying to make a mark and kind of put himself in a position to be one of the top guys on the depth chart in that position. Jalen Polk, again, 3 catches, 14 yards. Javon Baker had a couple of catches. I was watching him. It seems like they were trying to get him the ball downfield on a couple of occasions. It just wasn't working out. So, I mean, hey, I don't mind it. Try not to risk anything throwing downfield. You know, trying to ruin a quarterback's confidence, especially with these young guys. But overall, I'd have to say it was a great effort from the offense. The only problem I have with the offense was the offensive line and penalties. I know it's a first game. Everybody's trying to get the snap count down. Everybody's trying to get, again, the new system down. But you can't have this many penalties. It was a very sloppy effort from the team offensively when it came to those type of penalties. Not really anything happening on the defense when it came to penalties from memory. From the top of my head, I can't really remember. But I will say 6 penalties, 45 yards. Got to clean it up. Excuse me. You got to clean it up. You have to. Especially because when the defense is going to, especially when you have a young quarterback and you're trying to rebuild, the worst thing you can possibly do to that young quarterback is put him in long yardage situations, like a 3rd and 20, 2nd and 20. You don't even a 1st and 15. You don't want those type of situations for a young quarterback to where the pressure builds up, and especially behind a very kind of young offensive line that's trying to figure things out and try to get going. So you can't do that. That offense has got to be better. They have got to be better on the offensive line when it comes to penalties, snap count, knowing the snap count, everything. You have to be better. No turnovers from the offense, which was really nice to see. Bailey Zappi did have a fumble, but he did pick it back up. He landed right back on top of it, so it was nice. Punting. I know people aren't going to talk about it, but for me, punting is going to be one of the most important parts of this team. Special teams is going to be immensely important. Why? Because when your offense is rebuilding and when you're not expected to have a good offense, which we are not expected to have a good offense whatsoever, our line is not that good. We got a young quarterback. We got an unsure. Our weapons are very, very up in the air, questionable right now. So you're not really sure. The punt team is going to be important to be able to jam the other offense deep in their own territory so the defense has a chance to make some plays. Period. That's what this team is going to be about. And what I really loved about Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo is that they were able to get the key guys on the defense re-signed. Kyle Duggar, re-signed. Jabril Peppers, who was a menace on defense last year, re-signed. Christian Barmore, the anchor of the D-line, re-signed. Now, I know there's issues with Matt Judon right now. As we know, there was a whole mess at practice where him and Mayo were going at it, and he walked off. Apparently, things are good. From the things that I've read, a lot of news stories stating that Keon White is one of the reasons why they're holding off on a contract for Matt Judon long term. Maybe because they feel that Keon White could be a better option in the long run. I don't know. Those are some of the articles that I've read so far. But again, we'll get to it. But like I said, the punt team is going to be very, 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 very important. Bryce Baringer, he had 3 punts out of 8. Hit inside the 20, only 1 touchback. So, a great game on his part. And he was fantastic last year, too. With how bad the offense was last year, how pitiful it was last year. Sorry for saying it, but that's just how it was. He was able to get Carolina, who themselves are struggling to try to figure out what their offense is going to look like, especially with all the players that they had sit out. So, he was able to get them deep in their own zone, and you could tell that Jack Plummer was having a lot of problems, and their offense was having a lot of issues trying to move the ball. So, and that was setting up opportunities for us. It was just unfortunate that we were able to really kind of take advantage of the very good field position we were able to get. Now, the kicking, again, this was a very, very big issue last year. And it was honestly terrible last year. Let's be honest. Chad Ryland, it was rough to watch. It was really rough to watch. A lot of the kicks that he missed, kickers in the NFL make, generally. So he honestly is kicking for his job, especially after the signing and training camp of Joey Sly, who was also a former Commander player. He was able to kick his first field goal in a game. It was about a 42-yard kick, which last year when it came to Ryland, you weren't sure if he was going to make that. So, more questions when it comes to the kicking game. Are they going to keep Ryland, or are they going to keep Sly? I hope they keep Sly. It's unfortunate, but Ryland he didn't kick well last year. So the punt returns. A lot of the one player that at least the announcers Scott Zolak and the McCourty twins were really talking about was David Wallace. I mean, this kid, he was making some great plays on the return team. He had one kick return for 24 yards, and then he had a really nice punt return that he got it all the way down to midfield. I think it was around the second quarter, but it was still a really, really good effort on his part. I hope he makes the team. If not, definitely practice squad player. He's definitely a guy that could definitely make some noise when it comes to returning kicks, returning punts. I mean, we've seen it in the past with a lot of great players. We've seen it with of that stature anyway, with Julian Edelman. Not comparing it, I'm just saying. Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, who was originally, that's really how we noticed him, or how Belichick noticed him, was his kick return prowess when he was with Miami. So maybe David Wallace could make a name for himself there. Now, let's go to probably the biggest bright spot on this team that gets me very, very excited for this year, and that is the defense. The defense, they were monsters. I don't care what anybody says. I know they're probably going against Carolina's third team. So be it. They still had to make the team. They still had to do this, and that to get into the NFL to even play on a professional field in the preseason. So I don't care. It was still a really good play. It was still just outstanding. They were bringing pressure on the quarterback. They were destroying that offensive line. That defensive line was incredible. I mean, they were just bringing, and it doesn't matter who was on the field, whether it was Dietrich Wise, whether it was, Anthony Jennings. I mean, anybody. They were really just getting in on the quarterback. And I think they had, 4 sacks? Oh, no, 5 sacks. 5 sacks. So one from Wise, John Morgan, Jeremiah Farms, Christian Ellis, who was a beast on the field. It was just unreal. They were getting pressures on the quarterback. They were hitting the quarterback. 8 QB hits on the day. Just great. They had about, 4 pass deflections, including a couple of should have been interceptions. Sean Wade dropped a doozy on the sideline that was, and you saw him get so frustrated. He was so frustrated about it, but hey, I like the effort. I like the emotion a lot of these guys have, because it doesn't matter. Some of these guys, they're going to make the team. Sean Wade's going to make the team. He's going to make the team. He was pretty decent last year. He played a lot of downs for that defense last year, so he's going to get a lot of time. So, I mean, third quarter preseason, first preseason game. I mean, show that much emotion. I was excited for it. Now, next week, kind of going to be a test. What I'm going to be looking for next week against the Eagles. Don't know what the Eagles' plan is when it comes to playing Jalen Hurts, playing a lot of their starters. I'm not sure. I haven't really kept track of the Eagles, what they played the other day against Baltimore. I know they played against Baltimore the other day and won. I'm not sure how long they let Hurts play. But it seems like Kenny Pickett was getting a lot of the time. So you don't know. Maybe they're going to get Hurts on the field just so he can get some, get warmed up, get some time on the field, get readjusted, since it's been, since January, since he's been on an NFL field playing in a game, because after the Bucs lost. So, we'll see. But I hope my goal for the New England Patriots, for the offense anyway, is to cut down on the penalties, those pre-snap penalties, those irritating penalties, and really just getting Drake May more time on the field, especially against a team like the Eagles, who are pretty deep defensively. They're a really deep team defensively. when it comes to the talent that they have on the depth chart. So I'm hoping to see Drake May get more time on the field, maybe even start, maybe get 2-3 series in, maybe even 4 series in, 3 depending on how the offensive line is doing, because obviously we don't want him to get hurt, obviously. So maybe 3 or 4 series for him on the field against Philly. I mean, even in preseason, Philly's crowd is pretty rowdy. So, I mean, that's going to give him kind of an idea of hostile territory, per se, and getting that experience in there before the season starts, because we don't know if he's going to come in this season to relieve Brissett or not. So just for him to get as much time on the field, to get acclimated to the NFL environment and the NFL speed, anything to do with that will be set, and I'll be happy with it. Also, a lot more time for Joe Milton. I would love to see a little bit more Joe Milton on the field, because, I mean, I don't know if anybody... That was probably the most exciting part of the preseason game against Carolina. It says 17-3 is the final, but majority of the game, at halftime it was 7-0, and then it was 10-0 by late in the third quarter. So it was generally a pretty boring game. It was punt, a couple first downs here and there within these drives, but it was still overall a boring game when it came to that. And Joe Milton kind of brought that excitement. So I would like to see some Joe Milton, get him on the field a little bit more, maybe a little bit more halfway through the third quarter, and see what he can do there. And get some time on the field, get some time on an NFL field in an NFL environment against guys who are playing at the speed of the NFL, because that's what they need to do. They need to get used to it. So, I mean, we're just a little under a month away from the regular season starting. I'm excited for the regular season. I really am. It's a rough schedule, especially around mid-September going into October. It's going to be a very, very rough stretch. So again, starting out with a win. This team hasn't had or won the first game of the season since the COVID year with Cam Newton against Miami at home. So this team needs to get off to a proper start. They need to win the first game. They finally need to get off their behinds and get off to a good start, because they can't start 0-2 again. Because if they start 0-2 again after losing to Cincinnati and then Seattle, the next couple games, on the road against the Jets, on the road against the Niners, at home against the Dolphins, who the Patriots haven't beaten in what feels like 4 years, and it hasn't been close. The scores might look close, relatively speaking, but it hasn't been close. Miami has just been dominant against New England for the last few years now. And then after that, it's at home against Houston, against C.J. Stroud, and Stephon Diggs, who we've also had experiences with the last few years, who has relatively had a lot of success against our defense. So getting off to at least a 1-1 start, or even a 2-0 start, a 2-0 start against against the Bengals and Seattle is going to be essential to how this season goes, and honestly how the atmosphere is going to be at Foxborough, because we've had so much experience with success right away with Belichick, even though the last few years have been really, really poor. So I mean, right away we're going to hear, if they start out 0-4, 0-5, we're already going to hear rumblings about, did Robert Kraft make the right decision with Gerard Mayo? Which would be a ludicrous argument this early already in his first season as head coach. So it's going to be very, very important to start off the season correctly, start it off right, start it off fast, get a win. Start the season off with a win on the road. That's going to give so much confidence to these young players. It's going to explode with confidence through the roof. So let me know what you guys think in the comment below. I'm really, really, really curious. Let me know what needs to be fixed. I'm honestly wanting to know how you guys feel about this upcoming season. A lot of Vegas sportsbook guys, a lot of the bettors are really low on New England this year. They're not. I think New England, when the schedule came out, New England wasn't predicted to win any of their games, which is unreal. I'm sorry. I really don't think in this era, unless you are really, really, really that bad, to go 0-17. I don't think you can do that in this era after the implement of the extra game. So we'll see what happens. I'm honestly excited. I'm pumped. I'm excited for the season to start because it's still that hope to where New England has a chance to finally be something, and also the new era. I don't remember what it was like before Belichick. I don't. So to see another guy on the sidelines and just a whole new system and how things are now different in the building, I'm curious to see. Because we've been so used to, my generation has been so used to seeing just kind of like that rough military type of environment, be as professional as you can be, even though Gronk was there for some reason. So I'm excited for it. I have hope. I'm not expecting the New England Patriots to be in the playoffs. What I expect for them to at least maybe at my ceiling is to at least be, hey, in the wild card conversations by midseason. But we'll find out. Again, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you felt about this game. What are your thoughts on Joe Milton? Where do you think he fits into the mold? What are your thoughts on Drake May, if you think he's going to take over earlier than expected? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.